This week on Vaticano, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the beginning of the war in Syria. Meet Archbishop Youhanna Battah of Damascus, who tells us about the lasting effects of the conflict. A refugee from Syria shares how the Holy Father's appeal to help Syrians changed his family's life. And visit the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin with us, a Greek Melkite Church and the beating heart of the Syrian community in Rome. For this and more, Vaticano starts now. Decades of war and violence have led to a dramatic decrease in the number of Christians in Syria. From 1.7 million in 2017 to 677,000 in 2020. Many have been killed and many more have been forced to flee their homeland. Entire Christian communities have been destroyed and places of worship turned into battlegrounds.
Dieci anni fa iniziava il sanguinoso conflitto in Syria.
Pope Francis spoke about their plight on the eve of the March 15th anniversary of the Syrian war. A week after returning from his papal trip to Iraq, the trip that brought hope and solidarity with the Christians of the Middle East. The Pope, together with the Catholic charity organization Aid to the Church in Need, is calling for the U.S. and the EU to lift sanctions that keep aid from reaching Christians in Syria. The Catholic charity says that due to American and European banking codes blocking money transfers to Syria, humanitarian relief cannot reach the 14 million Syrian refugees seeking assistance, which is necessary because 8 in 10 people live below the poverty line. Pope Francis is praying for an end to the suffering of Christians in Syria and urging all Catholics to help their brothers and sisters through both prayer and financial support.
Preghiamo tutti il Signore.
Let us all pray to the Lord that so much suffering in beloved and tormented Syria will not be forgotten, and that our solidarity revives hope. I renew my heartfelt appeal to the parties to the conflict, that they show signs of goodwill, so that a glimmer of hope can open up for the exhausted population.
Uno squarcio di speranza per la popolazione stremata.
One way the Vatican hopes to help this exhausted population is by promoting and encouraging job creation programs. The Vatican plans on supporting the programs created and funded by Catholic NGOs and ROACO, the Vatican organization formed by the Congregation for Oriental Churches. The initiatives are meant to help begin the recovery process both individually and nationally. A decade of war has devastated Syria. Over 11 million people there currently need humanitarian assistance. Archbishop Youhanna Battah of Damascus is one of the many people there on the ground trying to provide some relief to the local communities.
Noi aiutiamo molto tutti, non distinguiamo fra cattolici.
We help everyone a lot. We do not distinguish between Catholics and Orthodox Muslims. We help everyone, but also the poorest, the handicapped. I opened a house 30 years ago called the House of Peace. So I took these words from Pope John Paul II. He said, if you want peace, you have to think about the poorest in the world. Who are the poorest in the world? The mentally handicapped.
Archbishop Battah believes that placing an emphasis on the dignity of the human person is the change needed to heal Syria, the Middle East, and the world.
Mi interessa di mettere la morale.
I, as a religious man, am interested in putting morals. Pay attention, we cannot continue to be like this. We are not saints, but it takes time. Change comes from inside, from the family, from the school. It is important to help Christians to stay in the Middle East. Why? Because the Middle East without Christians will be very dangerous. We can live together with everyone. With Sunnis, Shiites, Turks, even Jews. Christianity can be a bridge for all religions.
Per tutte le religioni.
But for many Christians, staying in their home country is impossible because they're in need of everything, the everyday basics, food, medicine, clothing. But that's not all they need. They also need to know that someone cares. Pope Francis' trip to Iraq showcased that solidarity for them. His meetings with religious leaders also brought much hope and peace to Christians across the Middle East.
Pope Francis also did a World Day of Prayer for Peace. He prayed with fasting for Syria. We thank him. Pope Francis is poor among the poor. He is an incredible father because he loves the poor. He chose the name of Francis. He is a Jesuit and chose the name Francis. Francis was with everyone, even the Muslims. He was open. He wants to open our hearts to everyone. Yes, dialogue, which is not a word. Dialogue is to love, and Jesus says, love even to your enemies, right? And really, the Pope does that. We love Pope Francis.
Noi vogliamo bene al Papa Francesco.
The Archbishop says that for Syrian Christians, Pope Francis' visit underscored that despite their challenges, God will never leave them, and with him, they can overcome even war.
Abbiamo Dio, Dio grande.
We have God. God is great. God is great for everyone and does not let us lack anything. Jesus says that not only by food does man live. We don't even have the words for the coronavirus. We are strong enough. If you go to Syria, take the energy and courage to start your life again.
Prendi l'energia e il coraggio di ricominciare la tua vita.
When we return, we'll take you into a radio station answering Pope Francis' call to serve Christians in the Middle East. Over the course of the last 10 years of war in Syria, Christians from around the world have created new ways to show support to their brothers and sisters in the Middle East. Radio Maria is one example. Begun in 1987 in northern Italy, the radio station focuses on providing Christians with uplifting and prayer-centered programming.
Our mission and vision is to be present wherever there is a Christian in the world, to give him the word of God, the message, to pray with him, to be present with him, and also to hear his own prayers in his own language, and to hear all the expectations, all the hopes, all the desire, everything that the local Christians would like.
Joseph Nassar, the director of the World Family of Radio Maria in Asia, Oceania, and the Middle East, says that Radio Maria builds radio stations in each country, run by local priests and teams of lay volunteers, so that the station can directly serve the local community.
But we have only one project, Radio Maria, for all the world. We begin in a small place, any place where we are called by a bishop or the local Christian community, and then we try to help them to go cover all the nation, to all the country.
Following their mission of reaching Christians around the world, they started Radio Maria Arabic in 2015 and gifted the station to Pope Francis after he expressed his earnest desire to go to the Middle East.
So we have begun in Iraq, in Syria, in Jordan, in Lebanon, and later in Egypt. In some places we have more than one. We have 2 or 3 mobile studios. We wanted to help them, to tell them that you have hope. We are with you. We are as Christians from all over the world. We want you to stay. We want to help you to express your own faith, to continue with this faith, and to express your own prayers, your own patrimony, because they are people of Abraham.
Okay.
The mission of Radio Maria responds to Pope Francis' call to help Christians suffering in the Middle East. And through the intercession and protection of the Blessed Mother, this work continues to grow.
We define ourselves as instruments in the hands of Mary.
Now Radio Maria is able to bring the Church's teachings, events, and catechesis to Christians in 85 countries. After the break, we speak with Saman Daoud, a Syrian refugee in Rome, whose work at Radio Maria has helped him to heal after the experience of war.
Christians have a strong task in Syria. It is to bring peace. Jesus told us to forgive 70 times 7. So if you don't forgive, you are not Christian.
Saman Daoud is a Catholic from Syria whose life was upended by war. He and his family are now refugees in Rome, where he works for Radio Maria's Arabic edition. In Syria, he worked as a tour guide, but that was before 2012, when war arrived quite literally to his front door.
2 steps from my house was a famous double attack, typical of Al-Qaeda. A car bomb arrives and explodes, people run to help, then a second car bomb arrives and then explodes, creating even more damage. In that one, I lost many of my friends, dear friends, and that's when a greater anger came to me from inside.
Overnight, Saman went from happily guiding tourists to guiding war journalists. Today, thankfully, the terror of war in Syria is now only present for him in pictures.
Here you see a church almost destroyed, and here we go inside the church. Look at the results of the war.
Even then, he still wanted to stay in Syria. But in 2015, his son asked him a question that he couldn't answer.
When your son tells you that he might be taking soon to do military service, who should I shoot against?
And when a missile landed in the Dawood's backyard, that was the final straw. At 45 years old, he, his wife, and 2 children left everything behind and went to Italy, where they were recognized as refugees. Their arrival coincided with Pope Francis' call to all Catholic communities to take in the families taking flight.
Ospiti una famiglia.
It was Sunday, September 6, 2015, when the Pope at noon, during the Angelus, said to open the parishes and welcome refugees. At that hour, at noon, I had landed in Milan.
And 3 days later, Saman received a providential telephone call, an invitation from the Holy Father to be a guest at the parish of Santa Marta. For that year, Saman and his family lived in Cardinal Konrad Krajewski's apartment until he found a new job, using his knowledge of journalism.
When I first met Saman, I found in him a very fervent person and very adequate to work here with radio.
When I came here, as I always say, it was for divine providence. When you count on God, God knows what He wants from you. And I always say, the Lord's will be done.
Sia fatta la volontà del Signore.
Saman found a way to forgive and move on, keeping his faith and the links to his past, and looking forward to his future in Italy with hope. Tucked away behind the famous tourist attraction of the Bocca della Verità, or Mouth of Truth, Rome's Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin, the central church for the city's Greek Melkite Catholics, is unique for more than just its legendary entryway.
Benvenuti in questa basilica minore, che è una delle basiliche.
Welcome to this minor basilica. This is one of the minor basilicas found in Rome that was given by St. Paul VI to one of our patriarchs in 1964, when it became a seat of the patriarchal procurator to the Holy See. The peculiarity of the Melkite Church is that it is the only church that has 3 main seats: Antioch as the main seat, Alexandria, and Jerusalem. That's why our patriarch is named Patriarch of Antioch for the Greek Melkite Catholics. However, in reality, our patriarch is also the Bishop of Egypt and Jerusalem. So we have a patriarchal vicar in Egypt, in Alexandria, and another vicar in Jerusalem. So the territory covers almost the entire Middle East under the patriarchal jurisdiction.
Sotto la giurisdizione patriarcale.
The name Melkite is taken from the Syriac word for king, Melka, since these people, along with their king, accepted the teachings of the Council of Chalcedon in 451. Shiad Daboud, rector of the basilica, highlights that the Melkite liturgy is a Greek form of the Byzantine rite, composed of a unique combination of actions, prayers, and music. It brings immigrants from all over the Middle East together and is in full communion with the Roman Catholic Church.
I nostri fedeli sono sparsi in tutto il Medio Oriente.
Our faithful are scattered all around the Middle East. And here in Rome they come usually because they have been looking for work for 30 or 35 years. There are some faithful that came from Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, or Jordan looking for work. And this gives particularity to our church, which is not a national church of only Syrians or only Lebanese. No, it is made up of all the countries of the Middle East, and here in the Basilica, everyone comes. Because sometimes we find 4 countries inside the Basilica.
È composta di tutti I paesi del Medio Oriente.
Immigrants and refugees, like Saman Daoud, can feel at home in the Basilica, as the liturgy can serve as a reminder of the Middle East before the war. The chanting of hymns during the liturgy allows them to raise their hearts and minds to God in prayer for their homeland. Greek Melkite rite uses lavish robes and golden decorations to symbolize the meeting point between heaven and earth.
To make the Byzantine rite as beautiful as the Byzantines would like, you need a suitable place, a place of worship, beautiful clothes, and singers. The clothes, you always try to make the most beautiful clothing, because this gives respect in the presence of God to welcome the King of Kings, with suitable clothes and in song. The singing sincerely helps so much to elevate the soul.
For the many Middle Eastern immigrants in Rome, celebrating the Greek Melkite liturgy brings them a sense of community without losing touch with their roots.
So we are able to have all the particularities of our church that preserves the Greek language, not forgetting that the church is scattered throughout all the Arabic countries. And we don't forget that the Italian language where we are, because it is also a form of expanding and evangelizing and helping others to enter into this spiritual mention, according to the Greek tradition.
Today, this basilica offers the Greek Melkite Catholic liturgy in 3 contemporary languages: Italian, Greek, and Arabic. The Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin has become a symbol of the unique nature of the fraternity of the Greek Melkite Church.